Hey everybody, today I'm talking about the Isle of Skye from chieftain to king. Now this is a 2 to 5 player tile placement board game by designer Alexander Pfister. Now Pfister is known for a pretty wide kind of variation of games, from very light, fast, quick filler style games like Oh My Goods or Port Royale, up to very involved, complicated and deep strategy games such as Maracaibo and Mombasa and Great Western Trail. Now, the Isle of Skye is kind of neither of those. I would put this more at the kind of medium, lightweight kind of style games where, it's maybe slightly above an introductory game, but, you could probably successfully teach this to relatively unexperienced gamers. So, as I said, it's a tile placement game where you are trying to kind of place tiles to form this land of mountains and grassland and kind of water or rivers or streams or whatever you want to call them, and you do that by obviously you accumulate tiles throughout the game, but the way you accumulate tiles is a bit different to your your average kind of tile placement game such as Carcassonne or something like that. So there's a couple of different things about Isle of Skye that really do make this kind of give it a bit of give it a bit of punch compared to your lighter style game, and just give you a little bit more to think about when it comes to placing your tiles and collecting your tiles in the first place. So the first thing is how you're actually going to get your tiles. So a player's turn is going to consist of drawing 3 tiles from a bag and placing them behind their player screen, and then they're going to choose one of those 3 tiles to get rid of from the round. They'll go back into the bag, and the other 2 you are going to set a price of the worth of those tiles. So you've obviously got a pool of money, and you're going to allocate a certain amount of money to those tiles, obviously based on how good they are, because the way that the game actually scores is based on 4 different criteria, and basically in round 1 maybe 2 of those criteria are going to score, round 2 another 2 are going to score, then round 3 a different combination, and so on. So every round there's going to be a different combination of those objectives that are going to score, which you've got to think about, and obviously what you're going to change your focus on round to round. So you are obviously trying to get things or collect maybe different formations of land or different symbols and stuff that are on these tiles to match that scoring criteria. So as I said, out of those 3 tiles, one of them is going to get binned, and the other 2 are going to have prices allocated to them. And the cool thing about this is that when you reveal your prices that you've set on your tiles, then in player order they are going to get to choose to buy a tile from another player based on those prices that you've assigned to them. So for example, if the player to my right has set a price of 6 of this certain type of tile, then I can choose to pay that player 6 coins, and they'll put that in their money pool, and I'll take that tile to be placed later in the round. And that's going to go around until everybody's kind of chose to buy a tile from another player or choose to pass. And then the cool thing about this is that every other tile that you've set a price to that hasn't been bought, you have to pay that price yourself, and then pay that money to the bank, and then you've got the ability to place that tile. So the balancing of this game is just completely self-contained, because you are setting the prices. You determine how much those tiles are worth, you say how much you're willing to pay for it, and the other players are going to have to call your bluff in order to have it themselves. So in terms of balance, the game just completely sorts itself out, and there are absolutely no issues there whatsoever, and it's just so clever. This does remind me of the master builder mechanism from the Castles of Mad King Ludwig, where you set the prices, and basically other people either choose to pay those prices and give that money to you, or again you're going to have to pay the price at the end of the round if you want to get these tiles that you want. So I really love that mechanism. I think it's very clever, and it just is such a great way to kind of mediate the game. And as I said, that's one of the really cool things that give this game a bit of a degree of separation from a lot of other games. So, and the other thing is, just as I said, the variation of scoring mechanisms, because out of every game is just going to consist of 4 scoring mechanisms, but there are a huge array of tiles that come with the game. So there's 16 different scoring methods that come with the game, and you're only going to use 4 each game you have. And also the order that those things come out are also going to further give variation to the game. So replayability is a huge factor with this game. There are so many different things you can try. These scoring criteria are big, you know, they're very different in their feel and what they do. Some of them might just be based on the kind of actual physical formation of tiles. Some might be, you know, collect boats, or some might be collect cows, or get every point going back to your castle for every road that's connecting to your castle, that is, or, you know, complete grass areas and stuff like that. So there's loads of different things to think about. And the economy of the game is really good, because obviously when you're buying things, you're giving money to other players, which is going to give them more buying power in their round to buy tiles off you when you set the prices higher. You've got to be careful about, you know, as I said, every round you've got an income of 5 money, but then you've got these whiskey barrels that if you connect them back to your castle, you're going to get an extra coin for each one of those. There are additional scoring methods as well, because some of the tiles have scrolls on, which give you end game scoring based on the, you know, on the method assigned to that tile. Some might say, you know, get an extra point for every two boats in this region, and then if you actually seal that area, you're going to get double points as well. So not only are you focusing on what's on the, you know, the scoring criteria that's publicly available, but also based on your own personal tiles. So there's so much going on, and obviously there's going to be synergies between the two as well. So that can give you, or give certain tiles a lot more value to you than other players, which they're going to have to bear in mind, because they're not going to want to put them prices too cheap for those tiles. But at the same time, you know, they don't want to make them too expensive, because you might not choose to buy them, which means they have to pay that price themselves. So a very clever and streamlined bunch of mechanisms with this game. And that's basically how the game flows, to be honest. Just take your 3 tiles, set the prices, reveal them, choose to buy a tile. If nobody does, then you pay the prices yourself, and then place the tiles, and you can orientate them how you like. There's no kind of fiddliness in terms of how these can be placed, because you know, it's just simple as grass to grass, mountains to mountains, and water to water. So extremely simple placement rules, and no fiddly, convoluted, you know, niggly rules throughout the game at all. So very streamlined, clean design. So yeah, mechanisms wise, absolutely brilliant. Balance wise, fantastic, because of the, you know, the auction and bidding, or not the auction, but, you know, you setting the prices yourself. Time investment wise, well, this game takes about 40 minutes to play on average, which is fantastic, because you know, there is a good amount of depth to this game. It's not just you know, throw your, you know, just set random prices on things, because if you do, you're going to get absolutely you know, just shafted, and people are going to just completely run all over you, because they're going to know the prices and the market value of tiles in relation to how much points they're going to score you. So yeah, great timestamp, but still, just for, you know, for a game with this meat and the depth is fantastic. Uptime as well is really good, because you're always going to be engaged, setting the prices, and, you know, not only doing the spatial puzzle, but knowing what tiles you want to get and line up your future scoring rounds as well as the current rounds. So yeah, lots of things to think about at all times. Replayability wise is brilliant, because as I said, so much variation and replayability in the different layups and the setups of the game. Yeah, so great in that respect. Player interaction, again, I love the, well, it all goes back to setting the prices yourself. So, you know, you can't just focus on yourself, because you've got to be aware of what other players want, and ultimately everybody's fighting over the same tiles in respect of the public objectives. So you've got to be careful about how you price those, how you set the prices to those tiles. Aesthetically, it's a pretty clean design. It's not too, you know, I think it's Clemens Franz art, which is obviously quite, you know, unanimous or synonymous with Eurogame designs. But yeah, nice clean design. It's very easy to determine all the symbology and stuff like that. And it's, you know, it's pretty simple but clean Euro traditional artwork. And component quality as well is absolutely fine. You know, the stock on the cardboard tiles is nice. It doesn't feel cheap or anything like that. The money's all right. The little player shields are good and they're functional. So yeah, no complaints with component quality at all. And the game is actually relatively cheap as well. I think I got this game for just over £20, which is a really good price for the component quality. Theme of the game, it works. I mean, it's a tile placement game where you're just trying to collect different, you know, symbols and stuff. But you know, it works. You know, the whole thing kind of set in Scotland and stuff. It just works well. And setup and teardown time as well is an absolute doddle, because all the tiles are in the bag and you've just got to hand the money out and you're pretty much good to go. The way that the game progresses is actually really good as well, because as you know, for the first round, you're probably going to score very bare bones points. But as you get more and more tiles on your board and you build up more and more of an engine in terms of getting more money, setting those prices cleverly so you get more money in return, you can end up placing quite a few tiles on your turn, and you know, not only are you scoring for now, you're lining up the future turns as well. And by the end of rounds, you can be scoring quite a lot of points compared to the earlier rounds. So it's got that good cadence in terms of getting or making you feel stronger and stronger and developing as the game goes on. The game scales well from 2 all the way up to 5. This said, there's not a lot of downtime because most of it you are doing at the same time. You know, you can place all your tiles at the same time. You're all setting your prices at the same time. So there's not a lot of waiting for what other players want to do apart from them buying tiles off another player. You know, if I had to compare this to something else, it would be, you know, traditionally Carcassonne. But Carcassonne, I think although it's probably a slightly more suitable gateway level game or an introductory game, I don't think it's going to be long before you could go on to Isle of Skye. You know, there's not a massive jump in terms of, you know, a learning curve between the two. But the nuances and the strategy and just the tactic or the tactical decisions are so much more engaging with Isle of Skye than they are in Carcassonne, where, you know, you're very much subject to the draw of the tile. You know, you can get lucky, and the other player can just you know, get completely never get the tile he wants, always get the useless tiles. So in that sense, that game doesn't have, or Carcassonne doesn't have a lot of legs compared to Isle of Skye. And I think, you know, once you go on to, what I'm saying is, you quickly progress onto Isle of Skye, and then that's going to be a nice kind of landing point to stay on, and you can enjoy, because new players can enjoy Isle of Skye, but at the same time, you're going to be able to engage more experienced players. Whereas I think more experienced players are going to be a bit more hesitant to, you know, to play Carcassonne, because there's not enough strategy to kind of sink your teeth into. Also, it kind of reminds me of Cartographers as well, because Cartographers has a very similar scoring mechanism, you know, where every round you're scoring for 2 different criteria, and every round it kind of changes. So there's some comparisons there, but overall this game is such a nicely, delicately balanced game in terms of its accessibility and its strategy. The decisions are always engaging. You know, it's always difficult to set the prices, because, you know, if you really do want a tile, you don't want to set the prices too high, because you're going to completely empty your pool of money. So there's a lot to think about, loads of replayability, just a brilliantly weighted game, and just a lot of fun in a very succinct amount of time. You know, I've introduced this to you know, my girlfriend, who doesn't really play much complicated games, but, you know, this is like the first game by a designer like Alexander Pfister that she played, but she got the concept instantly. She really enjoyed it because of her kind of you know, linking it back to games like Carcassonne, where she's so familiar with it. So, you know, there's not a lot to get your head around, but it's just a nice, a fun game that's just not brain dead. It's you know, there's loads of replayability. All the tiles are different. There's different things you can focus on, and yeah, just a very enjoyable game by Pfister. So it does get a very good verdict from me. I've put it about a 7.8 out of 10. You know, it's just a lot of fun, and it's going to stick around, because I don't think there's many games that are this fast, this fun, but still have enough going on in them. So yeah, that's Isle of Skye. It gets a strong recommendation from me. If you do like Pfister games, then, you know, this is a bit different to some of the other titles, but definitely give this one a try. And also, again, if you're looking for something a bit more, or just with a bit more to it than your introductory level games, you know, you want that kind of next step, or that gateway plus level game, then this is definitely one to go for. So if you have enjoyed the review, please hit like and subscribe to my channel, and check out my other videos too. For everyone else, I'll see you next time on Chairman of the Board. Bye.